Hey, Jeffrey.
Hey, Robbie.
I'm trying to find Ryan's. Uh, let's see. Trying to find Ryan's handle so I can invite him.
It's just Duzer, Duzer.
Yeah, that's what I did first, and it didn't pop up. Let's see. No, I did. Maybe I had a space or something. There you
I did it!
go.
Yeah. Woo.
I have to.
Yeah,
All right, here we
I
go,
did.
people. This is fun.
this is great.
Love it.
Yeah.
We've got Jeffrey there, right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Brian, opposite for me. Yeah.
I like
Do we
this.
Yeah.
want to? Looks like people
I gotta
are
do my
joining.
Do we
hair.
want to?
Just
Looks like people are joining. So do we want to wait just a minute or two?
Yeah, let some people join. We're going to let people hang out for a second before we get to the good
I'm
stuff so
also
you
hearing
don't miss
a
it.
heavy echo in my.
I'm also hearing
Can
a
you hear me okay?
heavy echo in my own ear. Can you guys hear me
I'll try to
okay?
ignore
I
it.
can hear you fine, yeah.
Okay, I'll try to ignore it.
We got Boulder Bike Night in the hood in the chat. Oh yeah, what's up, Jason? How you doing, my friend? Welcome. Oh, now I can hear some
Yeah.
whatever just happened there. Whoa, Zach Giffen from Tiny House Nation just joined. Oh, that's bad.
Everybody mute for a second.
Yeah.
We're working things out here, people. We'll get this working. Joined in. Oh, my old friend Savannah just joined in.
Do you have do either of you have multiple devices connected into the live?
No, it's just. I don't think it's me. Maybe I can. Man, that sounds like a horror, like a Halloween movie.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some serious audio feedback. We're going to work on this, people. You all may need headphones, somebody says. I'm getting feedback, somebody says. How are we sounding now? Sounding better now? Are we sounding better now? We good?
If I unmute,
We good?
then you can test this.
Oh, man, yeah, that's horrible. Are we better now?
It's my phone.
It's my phone.
Uh-oh. Okay, one at a time. Each of you try to mute and see if it's isolated. Okay, somebody give us that tip. Thank you. Zach says, hope you're all good at sign language.
Duzer talks.
When Duzer talks, it's good, somebody says. Whoa. All right, people, just give us a second. It's a Friday morning. We're working things out. Don't you worry. Maybe we should go ride bikes. Technology is hard. That is definitely true.
We have a lot of people.
We have a lot of people in here. Oh, yeah. Whatever that is. The main host is the problem, somebody says. Sorry about all this, people. Morning, evening. Where are you from, Menmo58? Europe? Three boomers trying tech. Cute. The host is Atmos. Friday evening in England. Yep, sure it is. People are telling us to use headphones. I actually don't even have headphones on my phone.
So seems to work better.
Are we doing better now?
Isn't killing my ears anymore.
Isn't
The AirPods
killing my ears
were-
anymore. The AirPods were.
I'm getting a repeat, but it's not as bad as before.
I'm getting a repeat, but it's not as bad as before.
My friend Zach just said, This makes me happy knowing I'm not the only one that has issues on live streams.
Yeah.
Okay, I think
Yeah.
we're doing
like
better, aren't we, people?
Seems like it.
All right, good. Everybody seems happy. We can take a deep breath. It's Friday morning. No more screechy feedback in our ears.
This is why we bring Ryan places to keep it positive. And
This is why we bring Ryan places to keep it positive and light.
All right, I'm guessing we could probably start it up. We have 71 people in here.
Fantastic.
Cool. Well, I mean, we could start by introducing ourselves.
Cool. Well, I mean, we can start by
where we're all
introducing
here,
ourselves.
But I can go
Where we're all
first.
from, where we're all here. But I can go first.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah,
My name is
Jeffrey,
Jeffrey
do it
Mizell.
Hi,
I
everyone.
work
My
at
name is
Adventure
Jeffrey
Cycling
Mizell.
as the Director of Innovation and
I
Development.
work at Adventure Cycling as the Director of Innovation and
So in
Development.
that role, I am trying to really grow adventure cycling for what we call emerging riders. So people who are interested in bike travel and seeing the world from a different vantage point, and developing programs and scaling those concepts so that more people can get out on their bikes.
Scaling those concepts so that more people can get out on their bikes.
I'm going to stop you really quick. People are still saying that the sound is super delayed and echoed. You're getting delayed now, Ryan, because I think it's on your speaker. I don't have any speakers. There is a bad echo. Echo, people are saying echo. Huh. I'm just using a phone here. I don't have computer
Same.
speakers.
Same.
Mute the other participants? Oh, maybe that's something we can do.
How about now? Is that better for folks in the chat? Okay. So while we're not talking, we'll mute. Well, now you're trying to talk and you're muted, Ryan. All right, I'm gonna.
Does it sound better when I'm muted? Are we not having any feedback? Okay,
Well,
I'm going to mute now.
I'm
Bye.
gonna mute myself now, and Ryan, you unmute and introduce yourself.
Hello, everybody. My name is Ryan Van Duzer. It seems like a lot of this audience are my people, so they know me. I love riding my bike all over the world. I have a YouTube channel. My goal in life is to inspire people to ride their bikes more and be healthier to their own bodies and to the environment, and just to have a lot of fun and sing ole, ole, ole under every overpass. And that is about it. And I'm super excited to be here, and I'm super excited that you are all here. So now we're going to move up and see if I mute myself.
Hey everybody, Ravi Mikkelsen, co-founder and CEO of Atmos Financial. Been in the climate and clean energy space for 2 decades. Met my co-founder Pete a couple years ago. We got started. We wanted to help people have power over what their deposits do and fund the protection of our beautiful world rather than the destruction of it like the big banks are doing. This problem seems to be isolated to Jeffrey and my phones. So as long as, I think, Ryan, I think you're good. Like, it's just our phones for whatever.
All right. Steve says he's super, super excited. I'm not hearing anything else. Are you there, Jeffrey?
Are you? Let's see. Now I got echo. Can you mute, Ryan? Cool. Well, thanks everybody. I think that we don't really have a host. Atmos is the quote unquote host of this because they started the live, but we wanted to just bring everybody out to be able to bring the three of us out to chat and just talk about how we're working together from a nonprofit perspective, from Atmos's perspective, Ryan obviously with a significant audience and all of our shared goal of protecting from adventure cycling's perspective, protecting the beautiful trails and routes that we have across the country, and bicycle travel being, an amazing climate-friendly way to go out and see the world and connect with the world, to Atmos being out there on the front lines of the financial side, making sure that your money is being put to use in a sort of a climate-positive way, and Ryan lending his voice. So I don't know where you guys want to start. Ryan, perhaps if you wanted to talk about like you're sort of the go-between or the conduit between our two organizations, Adventure Cycling and Atmos. Do you want to hop on and talk at all about like I feel like your reasoning for supporting adventure cycling is kind of obvious. You've got a whole book about it. Go ahead, plug your book. But what you see as the benefit of this sort of partnership that we've all developed.
All right. I think this is all working now. We've got a good system going between muting and talking. So thank you all for being here today. It means the world to me to have this audience, to have people who care about saving the world, about riding bikes, and about having fun. I made a video 2 weeks ago that came out on Sunday about adventure cycling. A lot of you probably met Jeffrey in that video. It was an interview with him about adventure cycling and what they're doing to get more people on bikes. And when I say adventure cycling, it's not just a broad term. Adventure cycling is, something that happens out there in the world, but adventure cycling organization that they've been around for almost 50 years. They have created a lot of the most amazing bike touring routes all over the United States. I'm sure a lot of you have used those routes, and they do a lot more than just making maps. So that's why I wanted to have Jeffrey on my channel to talk about like what we can do to get more people on bikes. And it's been really inspiring to see so many people get excited and join the Adventure Cycling Association. On my end, I've always cared deeply for cycling, getting outside, having fun, being healthy, and also saving planet Earth, Mother Nature. When I was a little kid, I remember watching an Earth Day special when I was a little boy, and from that moment on, I was like, okay, I'm going to do whatever I can to save the planet. And I vowed at a young age to never drive a car, because for me, that was like the big evil. And, I obviously understand that most humans on the planet have cars, and cars have their uses, but I think we can ride our bikes a lot more than we do, right? And I've never had a car in my life. I try to walk the talk. I ride my bike everywhere around Boulder and the world. And it's not only, good for the environment, but it's fun. People always ask me if I'm always this positive. And I'm not always this positive. I am human. I have some bad days. But I will say that riding a bike every day definitely keeps this smile on my face, for sure. And it's been an honor to get to know the people at Atmos, the bank that was, if you watched to the end of the video, I talked about Atmos and what they're doing essentially to save the world. I've learned a lot myself about this. A lot of the banks put your money towards big oil and organizations that are not doing such great things for the environment. Atmos has decided to do things a lot differently, and I will let them talk about this more specifically. But it's an honor to be here, everybody, and welcome to Friday Live Chat. So maybe we can have, let's learn a little bit more about Atmos. What do you say?
Thanks,
Sounds
Ryan,
great.
Jeffrey. Yeah, so we started Atmos, as I said, to give people the power over their own deposits. It's like we vote with our dollars. It's often used mostly in the context of where we shop. This shop, local shops versus big box stores. And that has a great local impact. But when you put your money into a bank account, that money then flows through the economy. It's used to backstop loans for whatever. And the bigger the bank, the bigger the project. And they're very agnostic in terms of environmental or social good or evil, evil. So as they're agnostic, they don't really care. And my co-founder, as a banker, I'm an engineer by training, materials engineer. So started on hydrogen fuel cells and solar cells, and then switched over to finance about 6 years ago for this specific issue. He said that he would do $150 million wind deal and get the same amount of praise from his bank managers as his colleague and friend next to him for a $5 billion oil pipeline. The bank's like, hey, great, you both hit 3.25%. Like, those are our target numbers. Like, they don't care where that money's coming from as long as you're making money. So we want, as I said, it's like, it's our money. We should get a vote with what it does. But there wasn't any banking institution that was climate positive that says, hey, not only are we not going to fund fossil fuels, we're actually going to fund the transition that's going to protect the planet, that's going to stop climate change. So that means funding renewable energy, funding e-bikes, electric vehicles, regenerative agriculture, more of this transition towards clean energy and electric machines so that we're stop putting out that that harmful pollution, which is not just on climate change, it's local air pollution. As you're riding bikes and you have a big old diesel truck go by you, especially those that are rolling coal and just extra nasty, like it's not good for your lungs. If you're cooking with a gas stove, children that grow up in the home with a gas stove are 40% more likely to develop asthma or other bronchial issues. Like, because it's a private residence, the Clean Air Act doesn't apply to the gas appliances in your home. So the gas industry doesn't need to legally tell you of the pollution that they're creating in your house. Like, this is insane. Like, if you don't have a vent going to vent out the pollution that's created when you're cooking with gas, you can actually create an environment that if it were outside, the government would say, hey, go inside because the air is too bad. But it's inside your house, and so they can't tell you this. Like, this is what we're trying to educate and illuminate about the harms that fossil fuels do. It's helped us build this world. So let's acknowledge that we have done amazing things because of fossil fuels, but also now we have better technologies and we need to switch off. I love my EV, but I love biking even more. So it's like I bike commute, I actually walk commute now because my commute's even shorter, but would love to get more people onto bikes. E-bikes, I think, is a great way to say, hey, you can haul a lot of groceries, you can haul a lot of kids and your groceries and your work computer and not show up sweaty. Like, yeah. So on that, I would love to switch the topic into the trails, like these, the adventure trails, the bike packing trails, something that I've wanted to do for a few years now. Like, how have those changed over time, and specifically as climate change and the effects of have increased? Like, now that we're seeing more extreme storms, weather events, have you had to change routes because they've been washed away, or the landslides have changed routes, etc.?
Yeah, I can talk directly to that. And let me just back up and start by saying that adventure cycling is known for, over the long term of our existence, we call them our epic routes. So everything that we have, like, you probably can't see it behind me, there's a map of all of our routes across the U.S., and we call it the Adventure Cycling Route Network. So right now there's about 55,000 miles of mapped routes across the country, which most of which take place on roads and bike routes and mapped out infrastructure that is shared for walking, biking, cars, pedestrian, multi-use trails. And then we have some, like the Great Divide Mountain Bike Route, which is a completely off-road bike trail from Canada to Antelope Wells, New Mexico, across or throughout the entire length of the Continental Divide of the Rocky Mountains. So we have an expansive network all across the country. And yeah, we are seeing each year, and sorry, let me even go back or one more with that as well. We have a team of amazing cartographers who are always developing new routes, but also keeping an eye on maintaining those existing routes for safety, for accuracy, because roads change and infrastructure changes year over year, and we can't always have the most, printed maps can't be updated in real time because they're printed on a piece of paper. So we have these amazing cartographers putting out, we have message boards of saying like, hey, here's something going on. Sorry, of course I'm in my ear. My phone's saying, would you like to answer this? No, I definitely would not like to answer that right now. So yeah, I mean, we have seen significant effects of climate change. So just last year, at the beginning of the prime bike packing season and bike travel season, there were significant fires in New Mexico, which really closed down a lot of our trails, like the Southern Tier, which, Ryan, I believe you've biked the Southern Tier, which runs from across the southern part of the United States, from essentially San Diego over to Florida. And there were reroutes that needed to be done there. Significant fires at the southern portion of the Great Divide Mountain Bike Route, which it's not our race, but a well-known race on the Great Divide is the Tour Divide race. They had to reroute a major portion of their race. I actually think that even and then in the northern parts there were significant floods, so the exact opposite of fires. Too much fire, too much dry in the south, and up north there was significant flooding to the point where I'm sure you all saw that there were some pretty harrowing videos of major road washouts in Yellowstone National Park. Almost all of the entrances were closed, I believe, except for one that you had to hike into. So we had to close down significant portions of our routes. We had to cancel a couple of tours, the Yellowstone and Teton tour. So we're seeing sort of a lot of these impacts really directly on our route network. Luckily, we do have those cartographers that I talked about who are able to put real-time reroutes for people's safety, because for us, it really is a safety issue. We do certainly see bike travel as one of, if not the most climate friendly way to go out and experience travel and see the world. But immediately for us, it's like we can't be sending people on our routes that are completely washed out and flooded and be putting people in danger. So our cartographers and routes team really has a strong eye for those with a safety lens. And then I think that was really our motivation for making partnerships like this with Atmos, because we do see that as a long-term climate solution. And from our perspective, it's like, here's what we're doing to try to keep you safe while you're out doing a climate-friendly activity. But how do we make those partnerships for a long-term actual solution so that in theory, these things won't be happening in the future?
That's amazing. And we're definitely going to have to try one out as a team activity. We'll see if we can get some more folks on board. Then, so I assume most of the people watching ride bikes, because mostly coming from you, Ryan. And there's such an emphasis on like e-vehicles, cars, trucks, vans, as you said. Especially in this country, that sort of the car culture dominates. But because we get flooded with these ads of the open road, it's a single car driving for 20 miles along Highway 1 across Bixby Bridge, and these very iconic views. And the reality is, you're stuck in traffic. You are part of traffic. You are not in traffic. You are part of traffic. And what you see is instead people on bikes cruising by you, smiling, happy. You're frustrated behind this centimeter thick piece of glass, yelling at the person in front of you, which you wouldn't do if you're walking by. Excuse me, pardon me, may I get in? Yes, of course, here you go. But now all of a sudden we've got this, these 2 centimeter pieces of glass in between us and 8,000 pounds of metal. We become these angry beasts with each other. It's like you said, Ryan, riding your bike makes you happier. Walking, it's like, let's be more of this community. So that is something that we want to do is so not only through the donations to ACA, but also in our blogs, also in our funding, we want to help actually. So we do give cashback discounts on if somebody's buying an e-bike and also other cycle shops. And then also if once we start into that program, we actually want to help finance e-bikes as well. So it's if you're buying a $4,000 or $5,000, $8,000 bike, like you may not want to put all that cash out, or you may not have the cash, and so we'll be able to help do that eventually as well. And battery on an e-bike is this big versus hundreds and hundreds of pounds, to move a car or truck. So we can actually make the resources go farther.
Can I ask you another question, Ravi? I would like to know from a business perspective. Obviously, we're a nonprofit organization, so our business model is a little bit different. But why do you see supporting and partnering with nonprofit organizations who are doing this work is really central to what Atmos does and that impact that you're trying to have?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's mostly on, it's walking the talk. So less than 2% of all philanthropic giving went to climate organizations, and we are about moving capital. So we don't earn money. Like as Ryan mentioned in his video, if somebody signs up for one of our accounts through that landing page for the ACA, we make donations to the ACA. So it's costing money, but it's getting us new customers, which hopefully will also move deposits over, which we can then fund these projects. And we earn a little bit of money on that. So we're paying to get more money so that we can fund more projects and give more donations. And we subsidize the donation. So unlike other neobanks, digital banks that say, okay, we'll give you a higher interest rate on your savings if you invite 5 friends and do $2,000 worth of card swipes and do direct deposit and spin around 3 times on a video. We just say, make a donation every month. Like, very simple, at least $1 a month to at least one organization, and we're going to double the amount of money that we give you. So we're trying to help people flex and build those giving muscles and learn about more organizations. And so with that, we can do more of what our mission is to help this transition, and that's where we'll make our money.
I at the beginning I said there's not going to be really like a host or moderator, but I feel like it's going to be me at this point. Ryan, similarly, question for you: why do you see it important? As obviously, I mean, you're the most independent out of all of us here. You run your YouTube channel, you've got your socials, you've got your partnerships, and you're pretty much free as a bird. I saw on your Instagram yesterday, you're like, it's cold, I'm going to Mexico. So why do you, in terms of what you could be doing, whatever you want at any given day, why do you see it as important to lend your voice, and to sort of talk about, like you talked in your video, you gave all of the funding that Atmos was going to pay you to Adventure Cycling because you believe in the organization. Why do you see that as important with your voice and the community that you've made, with specifically bicycles?
I've always loved bikes, just like a lot of children. We get our first bike. It's our first feeling of freedom and joy. We feel the wind in our hair. We're ringing a bell, and it's just so exciting. And I have managed to keep that excitement through my entire life until now I'm 43 years old, and I still love every day that I get on my bike, and I'm sure a lot of the audience can relate to that. And so for me, creating this channel many years ago and actually living a life of low impact on the environment has always been incredibly important to me because I deeply love the great outdoors. I want it to stay clean and healthy and accessible for everybody. And the more I go out into the world and film these adventures and show these beautiful landscapes and interview amazing, inspiring people on the sides of the road in West Virginia or Mexico, I love showing my audience what's out there and what's possible. And the more people realize that our world is fragile, I think people will be like, okay, I don't want to have an incredibly negative impact on the planet. I'm going to try to live as tread as lightly as possible. And for me, and for a lot of people, that's riding a bike. And so that's why it's important for me. And I love supporting organizations that are doing good things for the world. I have my voice and my audience, but if I can help amplify another nonprofit's voice through my channel, that's a total win. I've never been motivated by money. Of course, money is important and you need to have money to pay your bills, but I've never been super motivated by money. Like, I really just care about helping people out. I spend hours and hours every week fielding emails and messages and questions from people who want to go, car free or ride their bikes more. And for me, it's a lot of time, but I love helping people on those journeys. And so for me, my YouTube channel is a complete dream come true that I get to, inspire so many people just through my goofy little adventures and singing dorky songs and having fun out in nature, and I love it. I used to work in the TV world with Travel Channel and Discovery Channel, and that was fun and exciting to be on national TV. But YouTube is what I love the most out of anything I've ever done in my life because I have direct access to my viewers. They can write me a question and I can respond to them immediately. And for me, it's work, but I love it. And it's important because it's our planet and we need her, Mother Nature, to be there for generation after generation.
You're getting some serious props in the comment section here, Ryan, but I agree with everybody. For 30 years, and also let me just say, I met Ryan on the day that we had emailed a little bit, knew friends of friends, and I met him in person the day that we went and filmed that video, and I was thinking to myself, wonder if this guy's really this high energy when the cameras are not on. And the olays happen non-recording. So if anybody's ever like, no, this guy's playing right now, he's not. When he rides his bike, he turns it up about 6 notches if that's possible. So thank you so much, Ryan. We really do appreciate it. And I just want to say from the adventure cycling perspective, one other thing about sort of like the impact that we're trying to make that I would love to hear about from both of you is around the impact of getting more people on bikes and engaged in climate activity who perhaps haven't been necessarily represented very well historically. It's something that with my role at Adventure Cycling and the innovation and discovery side, innovation and discovery can be kind of vague. People, if you looked at my LinkedIn, you're like, I have no idea what that means. But what it means is, how are we creating new programming, developing new concepts, and scaling this programming to make it so that the adventure cycling route network, the people who are traveling by bike, the people who are engaging in this hobby that I love and that you love, Ryan, are representative across all of our different demographics, and that their voices are heard. And that's important for us from a representative scale. But I would love to know, Ravi, why do you see that as important, and how is Atmos doing that same work with perhaps nonprofit partnerships or with what you're investing in? Yeah, if you could talk to that, that'd be awesome.
Sure thing. It comes down to a very simple sentence. You can't have 100% clean energy unless 100% of people have clean energy. Like, if we're just focusing on the wealthiest people who can pay cash for a massive solar array and the most expensive EV, we're going to solve a very small fraction of the problem. We need to be able to include everyone as quickly as possible if we're actually going to solve this full issue. And so, yes, that is through our other nonprofits. So Grid Alternatives is a nonprofit based here in Oakland. They're about 5 blocks from my house. I love it. Kind of like Habitat for Humanity, but for solar. So if you've ever volunteered for a Habitat for Humanity project, you go and you build homes for people that need affordable housing. With Grid Alternatives, the volunteers are installing solar. Day one, I was on a project. Person had never held an impact driver or a drill before. It's like, what is this? So it's like, here's how to use the tools. Climbing up on a ladder onto a roof, installing solar on somebody's house, and then the professionals then do all the connections and wire it into the service panel and everything. But with the donations that go to them, that then funds the purchase of the equipment, the training, and now it's also a job training organization. And lower income families are getting solar and getting help with their bills this way. We've got wildlife protection, water protection, support for organic and clean food, local food, reducing food waste. So if you have causes you care about, we have nonprofits that you can support. And then through the business side, we are working on getting the deposits that we bring in to banks that will fund projects in these areas as well. And just I've seen some chats about how to open accounts and things like that. One, we want to make it as simple as possible. It takes about like 90 seconds for the application, and we'll post the video, the link, so that you go through the ACA's page and we make the donation to them. But also, don't think, oh my God, I've got my mortgage over here and I've got all these things that are set up with an account. Leave those with them, and it's like, hey, I've got $1,000 in savings, 10,000 in savings. Move that over. You can just sit and have that sit, and then if you really want, over time you can move stuff over from your checking. It's just every dollar that gets moved over allows us to put one more dollar towards clean energy. So if you have a complicated situation across checking and savings and other things, just do the simple stuff. And because every dollar moves forward, it's just like every foot that you bike is a foot that you haven't driven in a car. So just every little step that we can make.
That's so cool. I guess I'll answer the question, Jeffrey, as well. But I think it's important for everybody to have access to bikes. I grew up in Boulder in a family with a single mom and 4 kids. We didn't have a lot of resources. And so I don't have a special place in my heart for people who need a little extra help. And so I've done a lot of volunteer projects with Mexican immigrant youth here in Boulder. I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Honduras for 2 years working with young people. I've worked in the Dominican Republic at orphanages, and I've always just felt a special connection to people around the world who just need a little extra help. And because I was one of those people, our family received a lot of help from generous people here in Boulder, and it's my chance to pay it forward, essentially. And so on my channel, I try to highlight people who might not get highlighted in mass media. And, when I did The Great Divide, there was a gentleman named Kev Does, who rode with us for about a month. He's an amazing guy. He's Dominican. He's brown. You don't see a lot of those people on bikepacking trips. And, Kevin said something to me that was really poignant. He's like, I went into REI the other day to buy a helmet, and I wanted to see what this white helmet looked like on brown skin, but I couldn't see any posters on the wall or any advertisements of what this looked like. And he's like, I want to see more representation of brown people in cycling so that we feel more comfortable going to races or going bikepacking or feeling safe when you're in the middle of Alabama on a bike tour and you don't feel like people are staring you down. And that's definitely a huge issue in the United States. And so Kevin really opened my eyes to that. And my mission in life is not just to get, middle-aged, wealthy white dudes on bikes. It's to get everybody on bikes. Kind of what you were saying, Ravi, about, having access. Clean energy needs to be accessible to everyone, not just rich people. Because, electric cars are expensive. Electric bikes are expensive. Solar panels are expensive. A lot of people don't have the access to that. But what we do have access to a lot of times are bikes. Bikes can be cheap. And I think Dana is still on here. We all know Dana. She's been on my channel a million times. She has a foundation. And through that foundation, we've raised a lot of money. And we give money to bikepacking organizations on the Navajo Nation to get those kids bikes. And we give money to the Blackfoot Reservation in Montana to get those kids on bikes. Because I'm a true believer that if you start riding a bike early, and you're going to love it because everybody does, it's going to stick with you throughout the rest of your life. And so if we can get them started young and making people feel comfortable, not just white people, on bikes, that will stay with us. And Dana just said, hi, Ryan. Hi, Dana. Thank you for all the wonderful work you do. I love you so much.
I think that from not necessarily a climate perspective, but just a human perspective, something that I also really love about bikes is, and bike travel specifically, and our Adventure Cycling Route Network goes through a lot of places in the country that are perhaps less diverse. But for example, Ryan, your Ragbri video, there are people who who live in New York City who want to go to Iowa every single year because they went to Iowa one time and rode across the state and realized everybody here is so nice and welcoming. And I think that bikes and travel in that way, and when we're riding bikes with people, it also allows us to be like, oh, maybe we're actually quite a bit more similar than we think that we are. I grew up in Japan. My son's name is Kaito. He's 3. He's a little brown boy here in Japan, and he's adorable on a bike. And, if I took him to New York City or Iowa or Montana, and there were other 3-year-olds on their bikes, they would all ride their bikes together. Maybe not 3-year-olds because he is super advanced. Just kidding. But, they would all ride their bikes together because it's super fun to ride your bike. So, Ryan, your Ragbri video, I think, is a perfect example of we have quite a bit more in common than we think that we do. And when we're out there just having fun, seeing the world, riding our bikes next to corn together, it can be a lot of fun, and we can learn more about each other than perhaps we thought that was similar. So that's another thing that I think that bike travel and adventure cycling is really just trying to do with expanding to more people in more places, of just making it easier to ride your bike, meet new people. I mean, when I was in Boulder with you, Ryan, we got stopped freaking 15 times of, hey, Ryan, I know you, and you chit chat and how you doing? And I mean, you are the most popular guy in town, but overall people just, want to talk to you about your journey. Where are you going? What kind of bike are you riding? People who like bikes love bikes, and we just sit there and talk about it for 5 minutes and realize, we are from the same town in this small state where neither of us live or whatever. But I think that there's just a lot of connection that can come from the biking and the cycling community as well.
I just want to add a little bit about RAGBRAI. My audience is seeing me make lots of RAGBRAI videos. There's 20,000 people who ride across the entire state every year. Next year's their 50th anniversary. And again, a lot of bike events and bike races, people are scared to go because everybody's wearing spandex and they have $10,000 bikes and they don't feel welcome. And there's a bit of arrogance in, the upper echelon of the bike world. A lot of people feel intimidated going into bike shops because they feel like they're getting talked down to. My girlfriend, has many examples of going into bike shops and guys are just not friendly. But RAGBRAI is one of the few places I've ever been where all bodies on bikes, all shapes and sizes and ages and kids and older people. I took my mom to RAGBRAI. Dana and Xantha have been on RAGBRAI, and it really is just a celebration of bikes and community. Because for me, bikes equal community and a very loving community. That's all I got to say about that.
Should we open up for audience questions? We've got about 10, 15 minutes left.
And I know that we. Oh, sorry.
And I know that we,
Did you mute?
oh, sorry. Did you mute?
Ask us some questions, my friends. I know you're not shy. Let's do this. I'm not seeing a question pop up. Let's see it, people. We've got Jeffrey from Adventure Cycling, Ravi from Atmos Banking. Everybody here is trying to save the world in one way, shape, or form. I know you are all as well. I still haven't seen any questions. Oh, here we go. This one looks like it's for Ravi. If you're already banking with a local credit union, would it be advisable to keep supporting the local credit union rather than move money to Atmos?
Depends. So, moving aside my bias of yes, you should move your money to Atmos. It depends on what you want to support. Credit unions are quote unquote fossil free in that they don't participate in the big fossil fuel projects like oil pipelines, tar sands, etc. They still fund fossil fuels through SUVs for grocery pickups, fossil fuel appliances in homes, that sort of thing. But they focus on your local community, and that's awesome. We are 100% climate positive, so we will take your deposits in and fund them towards clean energy electrification only. So it's only that. So you have to make the choice of what impact you want to have with those dollars. But yeah. Nuclear power. Will we fund it?
Nuclear power.
It's not really applicable for us. Probably we'll never get there. So most nuclear power is a multi-billion-dollar project that's going to be financed by a massive bank. They'll do those projects. We're looking at people wanting to put solar on the roof, $30,000, $50,000, $5,000 for e-bikes or because we're a software company at our heart. So it's like, how do we make this thing go fast? And a nuclear project is a 5, 10, 20-year project. There's one down in the southeast that's been working on for 12 years and it's still not done. So if there's small nuclear projects that you can throw on the back of your bike and then just fly with it, maybe, but we're not there yet. So it's we're not even considering it yet.
I saw a question, somebody asked, how can we get bikes at a lower cost or free for people? And that's a good question. I mean, I try to do my part, with the help of Priority Bicycles. They're extremely generous. We give out a lot of bikes every year. And we also use their bikes to have fundraisers, the raffles that you've seen me do. We raised $60,000 just raffling off a 600X this year. And all that money went to Dana's KRD Foundation, which then gave money to lots of nonprofits in the Colorado area that gets kids on bikes. And I know there's a lot of other nonprofits that do similar work, but for example, Denver has had an e-bike rebate program this past summer that was really popular, where anybody buying a new e-bike, I think, got up to $400 to $600 rebate which is really cool. I know Boulder is looking into doing that. And I think more municipalities around the country are probably going to follow suit because they see the benefits of getting more people on bikes. I realize that e-bikes are a little bit cost prohibitive. I mean, the cheapest e-bike you'll ever see is maybe around $1,000, which is a lot of money. So, I would love to see, rebates for all kinds of bikes. But as far as getting more people on bikes, I think that's what we're all doing here. I know Atmos is committed and adventure cycling. And all of you, all the audience out there, I know random people that have emailed me recently say, hey, I'm an older retired guy. I fix up old bikes and I give them out to my neighborhood kids. So we can all play a part in this. We don't have to start a nonprofit and do all the paperwork and it's, all that crazy stuff that seems like a barrier. If you feel like you want to get people on bikes, just start doing it.
Yeah, I would also say that your question was specifically around the cost of bikes, but I think that's something else that is perhaps prohibitive for some people to join or start cycling around their just local community is the aspect of safety. If you're not, Ryan, and started biking when you're a little kid around Boulder and you know every single side street and every single trail and where to go, it can be overwhelming to say, okay, I'm going to go bike on the road over to the grocery store and back. So then I think that the other thing is to really start to similarly with, your dollars are voting with Atmos, but similarly voting is voting and making sure that in your community, you're trying to prioritize the safety and inclusion of cyclists in city plans and infrastructure. That's certainly something that adventure cycling is very focused on, is safety along our adventure cycling route network specifically, but at large throughout the country, safety on bicycles is a key component of that. And you're right, Ryan, you can find a cheap bike, and if you're still scared to ride it because you're worried about people riding 60 miles an hour next to you with no shoulder on the side of the road, regardless of if you have a bike, it might never make its way out of your garage. So focusing on safety, focusing on organizations that support bike safety, and that infrastructure is also going to be a huge part in getting more people out there riding.
Yeah, and I'll add to that. We have a great community bike shop in Boulder called Community Cycles, where their main goal is to get people on bikes. And they get tons of donations, they fix up those bikes, and they sell them at very reasonable prices. Or they have a program called Earn a Bike, where they bring in a lot of times, kids, and they teach them how to work on their bikes. If they get a flat tire, they know how to fix it. So you feel more confident riding your bike out in the world. And then at the end of the program, they give those bikes away. And I know there's a lot more community bike shops popping up in communities all over the country. And so if you can support them, that's amazing. I know that we're all tempted to go buy stuff on Amazon because it's cheap and easy and you can have it at your door tomorrow. I personally do not like Amazon. I do not support Amazon. I want to support the local shops in my town. It makes a big difference. When Jeffrey talks about voting with your dollars, that's voting. When you're buying something from Amazon, you're paying for billionaires to be richer. When you buy a $50 helmet from a local bike shop, you're helping a middle-class family put their kid in soccer practice or whatever it is. And so I know it's tempting to buy online because it's so much cheaper and easier, blah, 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 whatever. If you can, first go local. That will definitely make a huge impact.
And there's a good chance that we'll give you a cashback rebate by buying that bike helmet from that local store. Because we don't give you cashback on Amazon purchases, but we do at the local stores. And if you're Atmos customers and you're like, hey, this is a good candidate for a cashback program, let us know and we'll take a look and we'll add it in. Like that's how it's growing so quickly, is that our customers are saying this is a good place to support, and we add it. Pretty simple.
I see my friend Aaron Crouch in here. What's up, buddy? His question is, what tips do you have to further cycling culture and working to improve cycling infrastructure within our own communities? I would like to get involved, but can't give financially. Great question, buddy. Does anybody want to field that one?
I mean, I can vent from, we are
I
a
can.
national organization and we have a representation throughout the country. So there are organizations, like Adventure Cycling, who are trying to perhaps rewrite some of the historical script on what cycling culture has been and what infrastructure has looked like in the U.S. Partnering with state departments of transportation and infrastructure development to make sure that it is inclusive of bikes. But what I would say is exactly what Ryan said. He said, if you want to get more people on bikes, go get people on bikes. The example of the older gentleman who fixes up bikes and gives them away. I would say in your area, try to find, I live in Fort Collins, Colorado, up the road from Ryan, and there is a bike ambassador program through our city where you can go and, you take a couple, you have to, I know that there's some quizzes and some learning involved about bike safety, rules of the road, those sort of things. And then you can become a bike ambassador for the city of Fort Collins and go out and, work at the Larimer County Farmers Market in the bike ambassador program and teach people about, like, hey, here's how you can get started biking in Fort Collins. Here's the safety aspect of it. Here's where you can get bikes and resources within your community. So check out what's going on in your community. There obviously are the national organizations like Adventure Cycling or the League of American Cyclists or People for Bikes who are doing sort of large scale work at a systemic level. But there is always a way to get involved in your own community, be it in your own backyard, literally, out of your own garage, or at your city or a local nonprofit level. But I would say exactly what Ryan said. Getting involved is the first step, and trying to find out what those resources are around you that you can participate in would be a great first step.
And to go along with that, the infrastructure can be tricky because it's, big and scary, and we think cities are always involved with creating protected bike lanes and things like that. But our community cycles here in Boulder, the bike shop, they do a lot of work in that area too. So if you can volunteer at local community bike shops that work with cities in creating safer streets, that will make a difference. But as far as creating bike culture, Aaron, you're already doing it. Just by riding your bike, you're creating culture. Here in Boulder, we have the Thursday night cruiser ride, and every Thursday hundreds of people come out to ride bikes and dress up and be goofy, and we're not about spandex or going fast. It's not intimidating. It's about fun and just riding bikes and ringing bells at a very casual pace. And people see us, on the roads, and they wave and yell, and the kids come out and they're like, oh my God, it's like a parade. So start one of those in your community, because I'm a firm believer the more people see bikes on the roads are going to be safer. Because they're going to be like, I want to join that group of bikers. Or I'm a driver, and next time I see a biker, I'm going to pass them with a little bit more care because I know that they're so vulnerable. So the more bikes on the roads are going to make cycling safer, pedestrian walking, everything safer.
There was one question about commute biking and being sweaty and showers and lockers and all of that. So for me personally, when I was commute biking instead of now commute walking, I got a little bit sweaty. I didn't get really sweaty. It was just like a little bit of perspiration, washed my face off, and I was fine. My friends in Europe that do commuting, it's part of, they don't really care. They don't get it's also very flat. So depending on where you live, how far you have to bike, your own health, etc., and what you have to wear, that will determine how much you sweat. Also, this is another great benefit of e-bikes, is that the bike does a lot of the work for you, and you can ride a suit or heavy clothes to work, and you're not going to be perspiring as much. I'm sure you two have even more experiences or tips on how to improve commute biking and not sweating so much.
Oh, Ryan, you look like you were about to jump in. Luckily, so I work at Adventure Cycling. I work from home, but when we're in Montana, I work for Adventure Cycling. And as you may imagine, it's a very bike commuter friendly organization. So are there showers? Yes. Are there bike locks everywhere or bike racks everywhere? Yes. There's even bike mechanic stands and stuff like that. So I lucked out there. I don't really have to worry too much about bike commuting. But I think that you're exactly right, Ravi. And I think that if you, it's a tough question because, I live in northern Colorado, even in the middle of the summertime. One, culturally, people expect you oftentimes to ride your bike to work, or it's not surprising at least. And two, it doesn't get too awful hot, but I can imagine if you're in South Florida and you're trying to bike to work in August, you might get a little bit sweaty. I don't know. It might be just a matter of having that discussion with your employer on ways to make it more commuter friendly. But I think that certainly with the pandemic, not to bring everybody down, but remote work became quite a bit more accessible for folks. People or employment organizations or employers realized that being more flexible with what that work culture looks like is important. And similarly, there would probably be many organizations or many employers would be quite happy. If Atmos was your employer and you said, "Hey, I'm going to be sweaty because I'm biking to work," I'm sure Robbie would be like, "Great, be sweaty at work because we want you to be riding your bike to work." So it's probably as simple as having a discussion with your your employer around that. But it's such a difficult conversation, especially because you're right. I do have an e-bike, but we're in the exact opposite situation. We bike our kids to school in the morning, and we leave here at 7:40. It's cold. It's 25 degrees outside. We've got them with snowsuits on. We put them in ski helmets in the wintertime so that it covers their ears. It's very adorable. But when we get to school, then I'm like, okay, it's freezing cold outside and I have to take off your snowsuits, which means I have to take your shoes off. And then it's a whole opposite situation where I'm trying to like undress them really fast, put their shoes back on so they don't get freezing cold outside. So, weather is a barrier, but we've seemed to make it work. And maybe just having an open conversation with your employer would be probably the best start there.
That that story about your children, usually how I'm trying to raise, how we're trying to raise our children is, there's no bad weather, there's only preparedness. It's like, oh, want to go out to play? No, let's wait for the good weather. Like so many parents say that. So now it's like, oh, it's a little bit rainy, it's snowing, and children are developing this fear or this distaste for non 75 to 80 degree perfect weather to go outside and play. And it's like we can enjoy the outdoors all the time. We can bike in the snow. So we just have to prepare ourselves, and these challenges we can overcome them.
I saw a lot of comments talking about people to be proud of that sweat, or we don't sweat, we shine. And I love people, embracing that mentality. But it is something that people think about. They don't want to be sitting at their desk sweaty all day. But I would say most times, unless you're hard charging, you're not really going to sweat. The breeze is going to cool you down. It's going to dry you off. It's all part of the fun. I think we probably have time for one more question. Is that right? So we have a question from my buddy here. What specifically can the schools do to promote kids to be the next generation of change to protect our world and embrace a more environmentally conscious mindset? I love this question.
I mean, I can start
Jeffrey,
from
you
my
want to go?
perspective, which is, you guys know the perspective that I'm bringing. That's riding your bicycle. So, Robbie, I'll let you take the more sciencey side of this. But, for example, again, in Fort Collins, and I realize that Ryan and I are both quite privileged in that we live in 2 of the 3 platinum rated cities from the League of American Cyclists, making it quite easy to ride your bike to school and stuff like that. But Fort Collins has a Safe Routes to School program where there are ambassadors, like I said, who teach groups of children how to safely ride their bikes to school, what are the best routes, and why it's an environmentally conscious and sustainable choice to do that. So I think that, it starts obviously in the home with the parents. So I think that, Robbie, you just said it, and I know that I've said it, but we are trying to ride our bikes everywhere. One, because we enjoy being on our bikes. Our sons enjoy being on the bikes because we just sit there and chit chat and watch the squirrels and that sort of thing. But also we do age appropriately talk to them about why it's important to ride our bikes everywhere and why it's important to go pick up our groceries with our bikes instead of putting it in the back of the car if we can. And I think it starts in the home, but then there are those organizations, and you do have a voice within your school about what is taught and why. So I would start with, how are we getting kids on their bikes, and what are we teaching them about it? Yes, it's fun, and keeping it fun is probably the most important thing, Ryan. I think that you've eliminated that pretty clearly. Making it fun is the key, and there are all of these cascading benefits specifically around the environment But why are we teaching kids to ride their bikes to school? How are we teaching kids to ride their bikes to school? What organizational support is that, either from nonprofits or from a city level or from the school district level? Yeah, I think that that's a good place to start.
Yeah, on the sciencey side, as you said, I could get into, like, there's so much, and age appropriate too. And if you think back to what are the science experiments that we did as kids, it's like, you know, vinegar and baking soda, learn how, chemical reactions and sort of the effects of a volcano. Um, Going out and just looking at rocks and dirt and what are the living creatures there, getting children are naturally filled with wonder, and so we can show them that this world is filled with wonder, wondrous things, under the water, up in the sky, out in the forest, and then also all of the things that were made by humans, electricity, motors. You take a little battery and you take a paper clip and you connect it to a little LED, and now you've got light. And then it's like you can think of helping them to imagine what's the future that they want to build. And one of the coolest things during the pandemic, I gave my goddaughter, my wife and I, we gave my goddaughter a science kit, a little electronics kit, and over Zoom, I was building electronics with her. And her mom said this was the first time that she'd seen her just sit for hours. I'm like, just go, 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 go. And then I put her, got her this science kit, and she was locked in. And so it's like we can find where kids want to shine, and we can show them, what are the effects of fossil fuels, and what are the benefits that have given to us, and what are the even better alternatives now that give us, the transportation, the comfort, the heat, the light that we need, but without the environmental harms. So a lot to do, and I'm excited to be a part of it. And thank you all for, Jeffrey, Ryan, thank you both so much for what you do and for letting us be a part of it. And thank you all for joining today. I'll just close off with the link for this is being recorded and will go on our YouTube channel, and the link to join Atmos and to support ACA is in our Instagram bio. So again, thank you so much, and that's it for me.
Yeah. Thank you all so much for joining. I haven't done an Instagram Live in a long time. It's fun to see all your faces pop up and ask questions and get excited. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, riding bikes, having fun. And again, thanks for supporting my channel, the Adventure Cycling Association, and Atmos.
I'm just going to reiterate it. That link, if you go to and join Atmos, you can have somebody else donate to a cause that you support in your name. So you go and you get the green effects of where your money is going, and then Atmos is going to go ahead and support your cause for you. So win-win-win there, as Ryan would say.
And really quickly, let's just end off with this. Somebody wrote, I've never run over a squirrel by bike, but I have with my car. That's true. Cars are more dangerous. There's no doubt. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, everybody.